Hello, Internet folks. Welcome to the live stream. It's a little impromptu, but I figure I had a little bit of time and a few things to talk about. So, one of the things that I thought we'd talk about is my new book, which it came out in February, and it is a short story about a troll that becomes friends with a little girl, and they go on an adventure to find the troll a name. There's some of the illustrations. It's mostly prose. And the prose I wrote back in 2019, and I did a few rewrites recently. But it was initially written for a class that I had taken. It was an independent study. So basically, I went to a teacher, asked if I could do an independent study with her, and got permission from her to do the class, and then we took it to the principal to get permission from the principal to do the class. And the teacher I chose was Natalia Ilnin, who had written a few books herself, and so I picked the theme of the story, and we just discussed how the story would progress, what it takes to make a story, all that kind of good stuff. And so yeah, the initial writing was all done then, and then I did the illustrations recently. So there's like full accent illustrations too. Just some fun stuff. So that's on Amazon. I'll put the banner up so you can check that out if you want to get yourself a copy. It's $10. Not $5, but $10. But yeah, so if you have a little one or you just like fantasy stories, might be something you'd be interested in. Alrighty. Now, some other things, because I don't want to just do self-promotion. So I'll take that down. Wearing my Wraith of God shirt, which Aaron's campaign is up on Indiegogo for the third issue in the series, which if you like westerns and you like supernatural stuff, definitely a good pickup. The story is well written, characters are well drawn. Might as well show my copy. Here's my copy of the first issue. Look at that gorgeous artwork. And then this is the sequel. Some great looking stuff in there. The third issue, he's fighting the Headless Horseman, so definitely jump on that. That'll be a fun one. One thing I think is funny is if you look at the Nosferatu's women, there's a little bit of a diversity higher. But if the Western theme isn't your style, another good one from Will Trusty is Garbage Man. Another one of my favorites. Some great monster action. Kind of has a Bernie Wrightson feel to it. And then if you want kind of comedy, I mean, he just recently did the Kit Carter, which that one's good too. But also, one of his earlier books, one of his first independent books is Power Cubed. And there's some great stuff in there too. So definitely recommend Lopresti's work. Some pretty good stuff. Let's see. Since I mentioned it, I might as well show the copy. Look, such great artwork. Beautiful stuff. And then if you want some good religious stories, now I haven't read the other ones, but I plan to. It's on my reading list. But Gary Martin and artist name Sergio Carello has some pretty good stuff. Some fun. The story is kind of a humor book, but it's a religious story at the same time. So it's about Brandon, who's following in his father's footsteps to know more about his father, who was Samson. So it's a fun story. Has a little Monty Python humor in there. And let's see. And right now, this is a newer book I got, and I haven't read the first part of the series, but this one was pretty good for like illustration wise and story. It's called Mouse Guard. Some fun fantasy work. Don't know if you can see that. So I recommend that one too. And then also Ghost Machines Hyde Street's pretty good if you like horror comics. This is the issue that got me to pick it up because I like the Norman Rockwell riff they were doing. The artwork's gorgeous too. Now their most recent one, they went a different way with the artwork, which wasn't very keen on, but I think it was just to reference that the character's supposed to be from the 80s. Like the expressions are still good, but it's not as good as the first several issues with Ayers, I think his name is. So that'd be a good one to check out too. Now I'm currently reading an oldie but a goodie, Cerberus. Which, if you like humor and barbarian action and commentary on society, Dave Sims, your man. Which he's also very fun to interview too. All right, so that's what I've been reading, what comics I've been into lately. Yeah, and then said it, and then a couple times. I've been mostly working on, besides a few illustrations for Greybeards, which I like to draw along to, which is also a great show. So if you ever get a chance, check it out. I've been working on my comic, which this is just the layouts that I got done so far. So let me show this. So it's kind of messy, but I'll go from here where it's kind of scribbly. And sometimes they'll be like really light if I am still figuring out the storytelling in it. And then sometimes I'll refine it a little bit with ink to kind of get an idea of where facial expressions and stuff. Which this page I'll probably redo because it's a little crammed. And I think the storytelling might be stronger if I do two separate pages on that to kind of get a little bit more, give the artwork more space. Yeah. So there's a few of them that, like this one also, I'll probably break down a little bit more into a few more pages. And just a few. Kind of show you. Kind of going out of order. And then I got some for the prologue. Trying the red line. This one I did a few iterations, but I might do one more because the main figure is off-centered and you don't really see what's going on, the action. And I'll probably redo this castle scene. Yeah, so my goal is to have kind of like a little bit where you're in the action of the prologue, but it's also a little bit decorative as it's setting up the story for the first chapter. So that's just some of the stuff I've been working on. Trying to get these back in order. And then, yeah. Okay. And then I have like parts of chapter 2 and 3 laid out, and then they're somewhat in a done-ish point, but I might go back over them because it's been a little bit since I first started it, and some of the storytelling elements and character designs have changed from my initial layout. Okay, so that's just some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Stuff, so I could possibly draw a little bit because it is called a chat and draw. Okay. So if anyone joins and wants to talk about like comics they're looking forward to, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Otherwise, ones that I'm looking forward to is I'm definitely looking forward to Fearsome when that comes out. The artwork is looking really good from David Williams, and also Wraith the God Fear Hollow. I said that wrong, sorry, Aaron. But that one I'm excited about too because I always like the Headless Horseman, and then I like the Wraith of God character. I'm looking forward to learning more about him. With some of the setup from what I've seen Aaron share, I'm thinking there's going to be a Phantom of the Opera moment where she pulls back the mask and reveals his face. But we'll see. It just seems like it's setting up for that in this book. And I guess we could talk about movies. So I have a few movies that I usually watch on standby. I don't know if it's the same as your guys' list, but like Shaun of the Dead is one that is always a good watch. And I've also seen the series that came before it called Spaced, which it's a fun series. It's kind of a little bit of abstract humor, but what I like about it is that Simon Pegg's character plays a comic artist, and the artwork is supposed to be based off Simon Bisley. So the character's name is Tim Bisley. And then he works at a comic shop by Bilbo Baggins. Or was it Bilbo Bagginson's Bag Shop or something like that? But that's a fun show if you ever get a chance to check it out. I also like a lot of John Carpenter's films. Like I watch the Thing all the time, and then They Live is also a great flick. Uh, Big Trouble in Little China. It's a fun story. I recently saw In the Mouth of Madness, and I like that one a lot too because it's Sam Neill from that played in Jurassic Park as the main character, and he's a good actor. I like a few of his roles, like in Event Horizon. He plays a good bad guy. Yeah, some fun stuff. It's gonna lay out a page, maybe I'll here. So yeah, I'm gonna be working traditionally, and I'll hold it up for you guys so you can see. Maybe I'll use a different pencil. There we go. Yeah. If you ever Carpenter pencils, they're pretty good if you want a pencil that'll uh, make darker lead. Oh, that's another thing that I wanted to mention is I get these sketchbooks from Walmart. They're like $3.74. They're pretty decent paper. It's kind of there's a little bit of tooth, but it's also kind of smooth. Makes drawing really nice. And I've noticed when I put it on my light table that the paper looks purple when the light's shining through it, which is kind of fun. But yeah, if you're doing art on a budget, I think this is a pretty good quality of paper. Sketchbook. Um, I would talk about the page I'm laying out, but it's kind of the last page of the well, second to last page of the first chapter. It might be a little spoiler, so my goal with this story is I'll probably do most of it traditionally. But then when I go to colors, I'll probably go digital with that. But I think initially the story will be in black and white. And then I'll go back and color everything once the story is completely done. Because it's going to be a longer one, most likely. And I'll probably start with 3-chapter increments before going to single stories. But they're all part of the same story. The comic I'm working on is The Silver Road, which is a fantasy story, and so fantasy adventure with a little bit of horror element, so it'd be in the dark fantasy category. But it's going to follow these characters' journey to the place where wishes come true. So there's going to be a lot of world building and stuff because I'm not going with the traditional fantasy avenues. So there won't be elves, orcs, or dragons or any of those creatures, but there'll be like spirits of nature and spirits of negative human emotions. So there will be fantasy creatures. It's just going to be a different take on the genre in that aspect. And then a majority of the it's going to be a lot of medieval world building too. So there'll be castles and villages and hovels and all that sort of stuff. With a few other societies too. So the main story takes place in Bearfolk Kingdom, which used to be part of the Belfast Kingdom, which are going to be more akin to Northern European or European style medieval architecture and clothing. And then to the south, I forgot the names of those kingdoms, so I'll have to look at my notes. But it's going to be more desert type societies and cultures, so you'll have more of the looser clothing and stuff like that. And then stone buildings in that society. And then to the Far East, you have more of the Asian style cultures. So you'll have more of the high peak roofs and some of those elements. But well, I just realized, working on the last page here. So I won't be able to show that. Let me draw some notes. I'll just do a quick doodle. Nope, this will probably be better when I get a co-host. That's another thing is I gotta figure out which day works best for me to do like draw streams. What works best for both people being able to come in and watch and for me to draw. So like right now there's no one. Which is okay. I mean, I don't do draw streams very often, and I didn't really promote this very well. It was kind of a spur of the moment type thing. I had time, so I decided to draw. Yeah, I'm not doing anything really fancy, just doing a quick sketch. Probably won't ink it either, but it is a little bit of fan art. I drew this character yesterday for a commission piece. But I'll probably share that once I get permission from the person I did it for. Well, it's more of a trade than commission, I guess. So in exchange, I'm getting some the next 2 volumes of Cerebus. So yeah. Okay. There we are. Just a quick little hashed out sketch of Cerebus. So fun. All right. I think that'll be it for this stream. One more time, I'll go over some of the early things I talked about. Here it is. My book, which is on Amazon for $10. A little short fantasy story about a troll and a little girl that become friends. Has a little existentialism in it. But the troll, he doesn't have a name, and he kind of starts out more as a force of nature and eventually learns what it means to be a conscious creature. So, yeah. Hopefully that'll be fun. And then also, just because there's a lot of great books out there, shout out to Aaron Lopresti. Let me just pull up his campaign. Yeah, here's his campaign Wraith of God 3, Pure Hollow. He has a lot of great covers too. So you have the initial cover, which I find funny that in the negative space right here in the trees is another Wraith of God, because you have, like, here's the top of the hat, the brim, a bit of the face, and then it goes down into the cape. I don't know if that was intentional, but it's just something funny I noticed on this cover. And so that's the full cover, the main cover. Like the vampire cover I showed from his second book, Blood Hunters. And then you have the EC cover, which is a great one if you like EC horrors. And so this one's about, like, 1950s, I think he says, and homages that style of cover. It's kind of a double homage because you have, like, Louis EC style, and then he's also doing kind of a Gil Kane thing with the figure in the front. This is my favorite cover. I just love the way that Aaron drew this twisted body of the wraith, and it's coming forward. And then you have the 4 of the main characters in there, so that's a good one. You have the Headless Horseman, the Witch, Esther, and Wraith. It's Chris Stevens cover, which is also a good cover. But when I get comics, I usually go with the one from the artist themselves. Otherwise, this would have been a good cover to get to. I love how he did the gnarled trees and the color of the grays with a little bit of warm. Very good stuff. And then you have the hatching here, looks great. Some pages. Look at the color. Looks good. Great detail. With skulls up in the corner. Though I do give Aaron grief because he gave his fill-in sandals. I mean, if they were kind of the cool sandals that went up with the straps and stuff, that might have been okay, but they're like flip-flops. Oh, still cool. Some great acting there. Another great scene. Now I hope we get to the point where we can get this backup story, because I like learning about the different characters that Aaron has. And then you have your add-ons, Wraith Nouveau, which is a lovely poster. The Ruffs, which this is always fun. Oh look, there's the Wraith in the negative space again. The pumpkin. That nightclub, which is the superhero group that shows up in Garbage Man and in the backup stories of the other 2 Wraith of Gods. Which, when you just meet Mr. Midnight, who is connected to Wraith of God, and that's established more in the second time you meet the nightclub, or third time. If you read Garbage Man, it's the third time. There's also Aeon Chance, which is another really nicely designed character. He's featured here. Yeah. And then you got Poker Chips, the Keon Werewolf, backup copies. This is a great cover. Black and white looks cool. Original art. Yeah. It's great stuff. I love the wispiness of that jacket. All right. So that's that campaign. If you're interested in Wraith of God and like Headless Horseman stories, definitely a comic you need to get. I got a comment. Oh, hello, Bill K. Thank you for tuning in. But that's all for today, and I'll see you next time. I'll try to pick a more regular schedule for this. But for now, it'll just be once in a while. All right, talk to you. See you all soon. If I can technically function first. Sorry. Okay.